Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of Ask Joshino Anything, the show where you can ask me, Joshino, any question you would like to be answered. I'm going to jump straight into the questions today, and I've got my trusty notepad with all the questions written on them, and I'll be going off of there. And at the end of the video I'm going to do some video update for some channel updates as well. So first of all, we've got iPineapple Pants, a very cool name by the way, says, my question is, why do you like video games? I understand that the basics are that because they are fun, but I know for a lot of people it's for different reasons. And he says, and this is a very personal little anecdote, he says, for me it keeps my mind off of how I'm depressed a lot, and I've been diagnosed with clinical depression since I was 8 years old. And for me that is actually one of the reasons why I do like video games. Mainly because video games often have a goal. Either it's a multiplayer goal where it's competitive to win, or it's a goal in a single player where you're trying to get achievements or get your character to another level. I think that's a lot of what I was told about depression, was that keeping active was a very important thing to overcoming it. And video games, whilst you are sat in front of a computer and you are fairly inanimate, I'd say you need to get out and exercise as well and do other things and socialise more outside as well as having video games. It can keep you active, whereas watching TV or watching a film, you don't feel like you're achieving anything, whereas a video game you have achievements all the time. And being able to think of them as achievements might even help with depression, because you're always basically fulfilling goals. Another part of why I play video games is just the social element, and it's such an easy tool to do something with your friends that otherwise might cost a lot of money, and a lot of my friends don't have a lot of money, and me especially now that I've lost my job. But video games are either free, a lot of them are free to play now, so they don't cost anything, or they're a one-time buy, say £20 or whatever, and that game is going to last you for many sessions. For example, even driving somewhere, it would cost you money in petrol or diesel or whatever you have in your car, or electric maybe you're a bit more hip and in there with the environment. But whatever you do, say bowling, that could be £20 for just one day, one session, maybe a few hours of fun. Whereas a video game, you can have countless hours of fun with your friends, and it's easy to initiate. You just see if your friend's online and say, oh hey, what's going on? Let's play a game. And it's just one of the easiest platforms to socialise with. Also, and because I've got friends in real life that play video games, and then I've also made a lot of friends online. And I think actually video games are a massive positive force in the modern world. And it sounds a bit cheesy, but no other way would I be able to connect with so many people across the world as I have done with video games. And not just connecting with them, but you're doing something, like I've said before, you're trying to achieve a goal, you're in competition, you've got camaraderie, you're playing together for some sort of cause. And I think that means a lot. I mean, there are times where, like in Counter-Strike, you're just slinging like insults at each other, or people are trolling other people, but especially MMOs and MMORPGs, there's a lot of bonding, a lot of friendships being built over the video game itself as the platform, and opening up the world without any borders really. And I'd have nowhere near as much contact with other people across the world as I have done because of video games. Actually, the other day I had a Polish friend over who we started playing Counter-Strike Global Offensive with about 4 years ago. I've stopped playing that mainly now, but I just occasionally go back to it. But he came over to England and he saw my other friend who still plays a lot of Rocket League with him. His name is Cooltees online. And it was just nice. And we treated him as like any other friend. It was, yeah, it just went smoothly. And it's just amazing that I've got this Polish guy that's a friend, and that has just been able to come over and just carry on the friendship as normal. And I don't think that online relationships are weak at all. I think that they can be as strong as any other relationship. My friend actually left him at the house on his own to watch films on his projector my friend's got. So there's a lot of trust there as well. And it was a bit of a funny moment because it's in a very controversial time in British history where the general public, not myself by the way, voted out of Europe. And it's kind of ironic that he came over literally the day after the referendum, and he sort of wished that he'd bought Euros afterwards instead, because they've become a lot more strong now. Anyway, moving on. Ellie, who is that musician I listed in the last video, if you want to check her out, there'll be a link, says, which is your favourite Overwatch hero? And theme-wise, I know a lot of people like Genji, but Genji is just such a badass. And I think he's really fun to play, quite difficult, but with a high skill ceiling, he just has a lot of fun potential to him. But at the same time, I do like his brotherly rival that slashed him down in the past, Hanzo. And it's a bit of a toss-up between the two, and why I like Hanzo is because of the bow's drop. I find it quite fun aiming with a projectile that drops rather than a hit scan weapon. I don't know why, it just feels that there's more skill to it, and I know that the hitboxes are massive, especially on the head, but still, there's a lot more. It's a lot more rewarding to get kills when you know that you've got drop to compensate for. And I suppose in the past, if you look back at my videos when I'm playing Planetside, I enjoyed dumbfiring the rockets at airplanes for the same reason, because it takes quite a bit of skill. Yeah, anyway. Mold says, how do you feel towards people who play free-to-play style on Planetside 2? I think that they're doing a good thing by playing, just because the more people that play Planetside 2, the merrier, because it's an MMO FPS. The MMO part is the most important, so the more new players, the better, and if you're playing free to play, then fair enough. My sort of ethic towards it is, I pay money towards it whenever I can. Well, I don't have money now, but before I used to buy things not because I needed them, because I've ground most things out, just because I feel that I've had that much enjoyment out of a game. I do the same thing with Dota 2. I bought the compendium back when I had the job, and it was just because I didn't really need it, but I've played hundreds of hours of that game, and it's generally worth that money that I put towards it. Not to say that everyone has to do that. It's obviously just up to yourselves, and the main thing is that you're playing and that you're a part of the community and you're adding to it. And I've just realised that this shirt is really low cut and it looks really weird on the video. It's not actually a V-neck, it's just circular. I think it's just because it's an old one and it's very saggy now. Anyway, Not Siesta Mister says, Joshino, you have to play Deep.io, Slither.io and Agario. And I've played Agario and Slither.io. Slitherio, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but I haven't played Deep.io, so maybe I'll have to try that out. If you didn't know, they're basically, the very basic of it is that you're a big thing eating lots of little things. It's like the evolution of microbes eating each other, or bacteria eating other bacteria and growing in size. It's just like that. The snake one's with snakes instead of bacteria. And it's called Agario because of an agar plate, which is like the little plate where you grow environments of mold. Not environments, ecosystems, I don't know, something like that. Kane Nico says, Joshino, when are you going to play some Planetside with me and Bushboy? Well, you can always invite me to play along and I might come along, and I know that it'd be quite a difficult thing to get over Bushboy's laughter. He has quite an interesting laugh. And he also says, can you mention the website that I made with all the YouTubers for Planetside 2? So he's made a website that basically lists all of the Planetside 2 YouTubers in quite a nice graphic format, and that'll be linked in the description as well, and alongside their channels, Bushboy and Kane Nico, why not? Archie Simpson says, what recording software do you recommend that doesn't eat your frames for AMD cards? I think that the AMD version of what I use, Shadowplay, is Raptor, and I think, as with Shadowplay, it takes part of the GPU processors, and instead of having them on your CPU or other parts, it does parts of it on the graphics card, which makes it more efficient and less laggy. But I don't know how good Raptor is on the AMD cards, but it might be your best shot really. And Shadowplay, for me on the video card, has been flawless really. It makes it so easy just to save things whenever they happen. So I'll always have my best bits really. Dead Silverborn says, what rig do you play on? I've made a video of me building the rig, so I'll link that here, and it's got all my specs in it, and I think even in my channel description has the specs, but the basics of it are the GTX 970 for graphics and i5 4690K, I think, for the CPU. Off the top of my head, I think that's right, but you'll be able to see in the video anyway, which will be linked here and also in the description below. Phosporon says, is it legal to say how much you're being paid? I don't think there's any sort of thing saying how much I'm being paid or whatever. And on that note, I don't make a lot out of YouTube, but I make a bit. And this month, including the Patreon stuff, I made about £120, which isn't a wage, but it spent a lot because it's basically keeping me going at the moment and means that I can do things. As I said before, I'm not destitute because I've got a family to rely on, but not being able to do things is probably not a good state to be in, but So just a massive thank you to everybody for watching my videos basically and carrying on watching, and that brings in some income. So thank you viewers for the income, and yeah, it was about £120 this month, and that was including the start of the video, the big video, why it's time to play Planetside 2, which now is about 180,000 views, but at the time I think it was about at 70,000 points, so that's about $70 worth of advertising, because it's crazy really that I've got that many views on something and there's been so many adverts, and yet it's like $1 per 1,000 views. It's like, yeah, oh well. Anyway, Nate U says, I'd love a statistics video, as odd as it sounds. I did do a statistics video a while ago. I don't know if you've missed it, but it's going over what all the polls were in my channel and what everyone's opinion were. There wasn't like a massive amount of people in the polls, but still it was significant. There were hundreds of people that took place, and it was fun and it was interesting. I might do some more statistics on my YouTube analytics maybe, or I'm not 100% sure yet. Ando Calrisin says, what do you think about making a video on how to pronounce my last name? Would it be fun? And to be honest, he does have a hard name. Is it Calrisin, or something like that? I'm not too sure, but if it was Ando Calrissian, then maybe I could make a video on it, and how maybe you're the long lost son of Lando Calrissian, the famous Star Wars figure. Whatever. we've lost the flow now. DZZZ ZX says, can you do a video about the recent PS4 updates on Planetside 2, and if there'll be a PS4 construction update? So I've done a few videos about that, not specifically on the PS4 stuff, just because I don't have a PS4 to play the stuff on. I try to keep everyone up to date as much as possible with all of the updates that come out, and I have mentioned about the construction system that's currently being tested on the PS4 servers. You probably haven't noticed it, but the devs are spawning things in, doing server stress tests, but players aren't able to access it yet, only the developers. So yeah, and also they updated everything else like the indoor revamp and stuff like that. But just to mention, I know that Daft Drummer has done an overview of it and does a lot of PS4 videos, and he only has a few subscribers at the moment, about 300, and I'd recommend subscribing to him if you're a PS4 player. And I don't know too many other PS4 channels, so if you are a PS4 channel, maybe pipe up. Anyway, that was all of the questions for this week. If you have a question for next week, be sure to put it in the comments below, and I will try to answer it the best I can. And if I missed anybody, I'm really sorry. Sometimes things aren't phrased as a question and I'm not too sure whether to answer them. So if you want something to be answered, put a question mark at the end of it, even if it's a statement. So even if you're saying like, I really like bread, Joshino, I think you would like bread too, question mark, then because it's not actually a question, I'll still try and answer it or read it out. But a question mark would help to know whether or not you're just making a comment or you want something answered or being read out. So, some updates for my channel. I did make it to 13,500 subscribers the other day, but there was a big YouTube purge that hit loads of YouTubers, including Rel, who I think lost about 3,000, but myself, I lost about 700 people that day. And although it seems to be an active account, there was a tweet by YouTube saying we're not sure what's going on, so it's a bit of a fishy one. Anyway, Rel has mentioned me in a video, and I've got about 300 people yesterday, so that was pretty hunky-dory. Thanks for sticking around anyway, everybody. The subscribe count doesn't really matter that much, just that people are enjoying my video and sticking around to watch them. Another thing that I'm trying to do a video on, as I was talking earlier about the idea of video games connecting people across the world, I kind of wanted to do a whole video on that topic, but more thought out, less live and rough, something actually like, you know, constructed, like, not an essay, but a proper sort of game theory sort of thing. Some other things I want to do is another 25 quick tips video for Planetside 2, and maybe looking at some other games as well, just to sort of have a bit of variation of content, but I'm not sure yet. Maybe Brutal Doom, which is a mod for Doom, which looks quite fun, and they've modded in the modern weapons and things like that. As always, any tips to my PayPal, or which will be linked below, or pledges to my Patreon, which will also be linked below and linked here, are very appreciated. They do mean a lot to me and are basically keeping me afloat at the moment. And if, I know it's unrealistic, but if I did get enough money from that, then I could make YouTube my full-time job, which I'm kind of doing it at the moment, but trying to fit it in with other things as well, looking for jobs and all that sort of thing. And at the moment, if I do get a job, it might be that I'll be making less videos, but that's just, I guess, how it'll have to be. But if you do want to support the channel, as I said, there's a Patreon and PayPal, and I do put them at the end in a banner, anybody that contributes basically. And if you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and if you thought this video was lovely and serene in the background, it's actually quite late, it's like almost 8 PM now, and I've just got the final dying light of the day. Yeah, so, and if you didn't like the video, then be sure to give it a down like, thumbs down. Is it thumbs down? Thumb it down if you didn't like it. But if you did like it, thumb it up. That's basically what I'm trying to say here. Yeah, I just prattle on when it's live. But thank you all. Until next time, Joshino. Well, that was a long video, longer than I'd like. Look, this is my shirt, it's not actually that bad. There's a lot of chest hair going on, but